We are so quick to give honor and praise to people who excel in life according to the standards of greatness that this world has set for us. We honor the billionaire businessmen, the beauty queens, the football champions, the movie stars, and anyone else who is seen as important or successful in the eyes of the world. But for followers of Jesus, we need to recognize that ultimately, only God Himself is great. Only God Himself is worthy of praise. Because if we see anything good in a person, it's only a reflection of what is already perfectly good in God. If you have anything, if you're able to do anything, it's only because God gave that to you. So the world bows before great people, but if they're bowing before us because of any greatness that they perceive as being ours, we need to refuse their praise and point them to the greatness of God, who is the source of everything that's good. In terms of human greatness, there was no one greater than Solomon. He was wise, he was intelligent, he was wealthy, he was powerful, beyond what even the kings and queens of his day could comprehend with their minds. Yet in today's reading from 2 Chronicles 6-10, we see Solomon, this wise, intelligent, wealthy, and powerful king, kneeling before God, the true King, and giving Him all honor and praise. Chapter 6. They're still in the process of dedicating the newly completed temple of the Lord. And Solomon addresses the people who were gathered there. And he does not at all point to Solomon's achievements in building it. He makes it very clear in verse 10 that this temple was completed only because the Lord was faithful to fulfill His word. And then Solomon prays. And when he does, this king, to whom everyone else kneels when they were in his presence, he gets on his knees in front of God, in the sight of all the people of Israel, communicating very clearly that God alone is the king. He prays that the Lord would hear the prayers of His people when they come to this place. And in his prayer, it's so clear that the people do not belong to Solomon. The kingdom does not belong to Solomon. The glory does not belong to Solomon. The reason for it all, he says, verse 31, is that they may fear you, that they may walk in your ways for all the days that they live in the land that you have given them. And not only for Israel, but Solomon's prayer shows God's heart for the nations. He says, Lord, hear the prayers of any foreigner who comes to this place to seek you. Why? Verse 33, in order that all the nations of the earth may know your name and fear you as your people Israel do. In verse 41, Solomon ends his prayer by saying, so Lord, arise and take your place. In other words, you are the true king. So ascend to your throne. Take your seat where only you alone belong. Chapter 7 then begins with what we had heard once before, and it says, the glory of the Lord filled the house of the Lord. And as it did, the people praised Him, saying, the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever. Chapters 8 and 9, we see some details about all of the greatness and the power and the accomplishments of Solomon's kingdom. The Queen of Sheba had heard about Solomon's wisdom, and so she came to ask him many questions, to test him and to see how great it really was. And she said, wow, I had heard about your wisdom, but it is twice as incredible as what I had been told. But importantly, she knew the source of that wisdom, and she gave glory where glory is due. She said, blessed be the Lord God, who delighted in you and put you on His throne so that you could be the king for the Lord your God. It's because the Lord loved His people Israel, she said, that He made you king, so that you could rule in justice and in righteousness. And it says in verse 23 that all the kings of the earth were coming and seeking the presence of Solomon because they had heard of his great wisdom. And listen to this, his wisdom that they knew the Lord had put in his heart. The nations had heard all about Solomon's greatness, but Solomon made sure, as we all should, that the nations heard about the greatness of God.